slow down a little bit. There's a few people in the room that don't understand. Not me, I get it.
Hello and welcome to Director's Choice, the show where we take a deep dive into the world of comics and superheroes. Today, we're going to explore some of the most intriguing what-if moments from Marvel Comics. These stories ask the question, what if a certain event had turned out differently, or if a character had made a different choice? They allow us to explore alternate realities within the Marvel Universe and imagine how things might have been different. So let's dive in. First up, we have what if the Fantastic Four had different superpowers. This issue, published in 1983, explores what would have happened if the cosmic rays that gave the Fantastic Four their powers had affected them differently than in the original story. In this alternate reality, Reed Richards gains the ability to stretch his body, as usual, but Sue Storm gains the power of invisibility in flight. Johnny Storm becomes a rocky, immovable creature, and Ben Grimm gains the ability to generate flames. This twist on the original story allows us to see how the Fantastic Four would have functioned with these alternate powers, and how their dynamic would have changed. Would they still have been able to work together as a team? And how would they have faced their enemies with these new powers?
Oh, you gotta be kidding me!
Hey, not bad.
Next up, we have what if Spider-Man joined the Fantastic Four. In this issue, published in 1980, Spider-Man becomes a member of the Fantastic Four instead of remaining a solo hero. This alternate reality allows us to see how Spider-Man's unique powers and personality would have fit in with the group, and how his presence would have affected their dynamic. Would he have been able to work effectively with Reed, Sue, Johnny, and Ben? And how would his presence have changed the way the Fantastic Four dealt with their enemies? Moving on to what if Wolverine had killed the Hulk. This issue, published in 1981, explores what would have happened if Wolverine had succeeded in killing the Hulk during their first encounter. This alternate reality raises questions about the nature of heroism and the consequences of violence. If Wolverine had killed the Hulk, would he still be considered a hero? And how would the world have been different without the Hulk as a potential ally or threat? Next, we have what if Captain America had been elected president. This issue, published in 1981, imagines what would have happened if Steve Rogers, aka Captain America, had decided to run for president of the United States and won the election. This alternate reality allows us to explore how Captain America's values and leadership would have played out on the national stage, and how his superhero duties would have intersected with his role as Commander-in-Chief. Would he have been able to balance his duties as president with his responsibilities as a superhero? And how would the world have been different with Captain America as the leader of the free world? Moving on to what if Jane Foster had found the hammer of Thor. This issue, published in 1978, imagines what would have happened if Thor's hammer fell into the hands of Jane Foster instead of Thor himself. This alternate reality raises questions about gender roles and the nature of heroism. How would Jane's life and character have been affected by gaining the powers and responsibilities of a god? And how would the Marvel Universe have been different with a female Thor? Next up, we have what if the X-Men lost Inferno. This issue, published in 1992, explores what would have happened if the X-Men had failed to prevent the demon invasion known as Inferno from taking over New York City. This alternate reality allows us to see how the X-Men and other heroes would have fought back against the demonic forces, and how the Marvel Universe would have been changed by their defeat. Would the X-Men have been able to recover from such a devastating loss? And how would they have dealt with the fallout of failing to save New York City from destruction? Moving on to what if the Avengers had fought evil during the 1950s. This issue, published in 1977, explores what would have happened if the Avengers had formed in the 1950s instead of the 1960s, during the era of McCarthyism and Cold War paranoia. This alternate reality raises questions about the role of superheroes in politics and society. How would the Avengers have been perceived during a time of intense political division and fear? And how would their actions have affected the course of history during this turbulent era? Next, we have what if Doctor Doom had become the Thing. This issue, published in 1990, imagines what would have happened if Victor Von Doom, aka Doctor Doom, had become the Thing instead of Ben Grimm. This alternate reality allows us to explore how Doom's personality and goals would have played out as a member of the Fantastic Four, and how the team's dynamic would have been affected by this change. Would Doom have been able to work effectively with Reed, Sue, and Johnny? And how would his presence have changed the way the Fantastic Four dealt with their enemies? Moving on to what if the Hulk had the brain of Bruce Banner. This issue, published in 1977, imagines what would have happened if the Hulk retained the intelligence of Bruce Banner, which would normally disappear when he transforms into the Hulk. This alternate reality allows us to see how the Hulk's newfound intelligence would affect his personality and actions, and how this would change his relationship with other heroes and villains. Would the Hulk still be considered a monster if he had the intelligence of Bruce Banner? And how would his newfound intellect affect his interactions with other heroes and villains in the Marvel Universe? Moving on to what if Elektra had lived. This issue, published in 1983, imagines what would have happened if Elektra, the former lover of Daredevil, had survived her encounter with the assassin Bullseye. This alternate reality raises questions about the nature of love and the consequences of violence. How would Elektra's continued presence in Daredevil's life affect his actions and relationships? And how would her survival affect the balance of power among the different factions in the Marvel Universe? Next, we have what if Aunt May had died instead of Uncle Ben. This issue, published in 1984, imagines what would have happened if the burglar who killed Uncle Ben had instead killed Aunt May. This alternate reality raises questions about the nature of heroism and the consequences of tragedy. If Peter Parker had become Spider-Man as a result of his aunt's death instead of his uncle's, how would his motivations and actions have been different? And how would his relationships with other heroes and villains in the Marvel Universe have been affected? Moving on to what if Venom possessed Deadpool. This issue, published in 2010, imagines what would have happened if the symbiote that gave rise to Venom had instead bonded with Deadpool, the Merc with a mouth. This alternate reality raises questions about the nature of identity and the consequences of power. How would Deadpool's unique abilities and personality be affected by the symbiote? And how would the Marvel Universe have been different with this new version of Venom in the mix? Finally, we have what if Thor was raised by the Frost Giants. This issue, published in 1978, imagines what would have happened if Thor, the god of thunder, had been raised by the Frost Giants of Jotunheim instead of by Odin. This alternate reality raises questions about the nature of destiny and the consequences of upbringing. How would Thor's upbringing in this alternate reality affect his personality and relationships? And how would his actions and decisions have differed from his canonical version? And that's a wrap on our exploration of some of the most intriguing what-if moments from Marvel Comics. We hope you've enjoyed this deep dive into alternate realities within the Marvel Universe, and we look forward to bringing you more exciting content on Director's Choice. Thanks for watching.